There is simply too much on the line to let habits that don't serve us back into our life. All right. And the context for this is, as with my most recent video, I shared with you guys how my priorities these days are to, align with my health, my responsibilities, my integrity, my fulfillment, my obligations. And a big part of that is being emotionally, spiritually, and mentally present for myself, for my work, for the people in my life. And the reality is that the life that I love to live is on the other side of integrity and alignment and responsibility and showing up. And there are certain decisions and certain habits and certain lifestyle choices that either support more of that or take me away from it. And it can be tricky, right? Because, for example, eating Doritos anytime I want doesn't align with it, but having Doritos sometimes does, right? When it makes sense. And so it can be tricky, right? That's why it's important. That's why it's been important for me, and I think for all of us, to be in tune with what our values are, what our sense of integrity is, what our goals are, what our responsibilities are, what our promises to ourselves and others are, right? And then to align with that. But it can be tricky, like I said, because video games anytime I want doesn't align with my integrity and my fulfillment, but video games sometimes does, right? And I think the main thing is there are certain things that truly, truly, truly matter a lot, right? And the question for you, for all of us, myself included, is what are those things that really, truly matter? Could be your sense of health. Oh no, my earphones just turned off. We're gonna continue anyways. What are those things that really matter? And what I mean by matter are, what are those things that when you tend to them, your life goes well? You are well, your mental health is well, right? To give you some examples for myself, it is important to me to be available for my relationships, for my girlfriend, for my family, my cousins, my close friends, and then just in general available, when I'm out in public, right? Obviously, I'm not just giving myself away to every single person, but for example, today I did a workout with my cousin. First of all, I don't hang out with this cousin that often, at least in the past, but she is someone that I've always admired and respected from afar and wanted to form a relationship with. And so that right there was an opportunity to bring more fulfillment in my life, more alignment, more joy, more satisfaction. And the price that I must pay is to show up. And what does that mean, right? The drive is an hour, hour and a half away from my home. I gotta wake up early to do my morning routines ahead of time. It's going to be hot. I don't know a lot of these people that are going to be there, but that's also part of it too. And as the workout took about a couple hours, it was a tough, challenging, great workout. I met a lot of great people. And that's another thing too, right? I don't just want to show up. There's a certain way of showing up that I like and want, right? And so, for example, I don't want to show up hungover. I don't want to show up in a daze, right? Obviously, we aren't always our best, but the best that I can, I want to show up, right? I want to show up in a state of calmness, a state of readiness, a state of openness, a state of groundedness. Um, and available for, just in general, human to human interaction, positive human to human interaction, as well as any maybe opportunities to give, to serve, to receive, right? To connect, to network. And the reality is that I need to keep showing up with my certain habits and things of that nature so that I can set myself up to be mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually strong and at a nice even keel spot. And so the point is that there is just too much on the line. There is too much on the line when it comes to our lives and I don't want to say seriousness, but just the reality of the situation. Okay, let's break it down to a more simple, relatable area. Okay, take for example your health and your fitness and nutrition, right? We all know deep down that there is a certain version of health and fitness that we want for ourselves. And then just in general, right? Even if you don't want to do bodybuilding or run marathons, as a human being, there's a baseline level of self-care and health and well-being that is required to just be somewhat stable. Okay, right? And what does that typically look like? It means not eating a bunch of junk food all the time. It means drinking some water. It means getting some steps in. It means getting decent sleep. And there is such a big difference between when we take care of ourselves versus when we don't, right? And there's just too much on the line, right? There's just too much on the line. And I don't mean to make this all sound serious and like a burden, like overwhelmed, but the point is that we have a responsibility. We have responsibilities to ourselves and to other people. And, I would like to think that people who watch this channel are people who are committed to being their best selves, or at the very least, just being a good person, being healthy, being strong, having some ambitions, growing. And the reality is that journey requires us to show up and make certain decisions, as well as not make certain decisions, right? And let me give you an example today. Okay, so I went and did this badass workout. We were running upstairs, we were doing laps, we did HIIT workouts. There was 35 of us. It was badass, right? The epitome of a peak experience, right? A satisfying, fulfilling moment, opportunity, and space, right? And those are the things that I'm after in my life. And on the way home, and my drive home, I had passing thoughts of, well, first of all, I'm looking for some type of reward, right? And this is part of my process, right? When I do things that matter to me and I push myself and I grow and I show up because it matters to me, right? I like to reward myself, right? Sometimes it's a popsicle, sometimes it's, a small little treat, whatever. And not to mention, I'm also tired, right? After this whole experience, mentally, physically, emotionally, I'm tired, right? And so as I'm driving home, I'm having these old, archaic thoughts, old thoughts of like, and I think I was at a stop sign and there's like a dispensary right next to me, and just some passing thoughts of like, ooh, like an edible would feel really good, right? Whew, that's the thought going over my brain. And the first thing to note is that those types of thoughts are going to come up, really no different than if you're on a health and fitness journey. You're going to have thoughts of like, ooh, I want a pizza, or ooh, I want some soda, or ooh, I want a cheeseburger, right? And there's nothing wrong with pizzas and cheeseburgers, but if we're on a certain structure and plan and we have a certain goal, then there is a time to eat pizza and there's a time to not eat pizza, right? And similar with weed, there is a time, depending on who you are and your life and all that stuff that goes into it, there's a time to partake and there's a time not to partake in marijuana. That's just the reality of it. And, the game I like to play with myself, just to kind of do a little sidebar, the game I like to play with myself in that specific case, because I know deep down that now is not the time to partake. And so I ask myself, if weed just wasn't an option, if it didn't even exist, how would I resolve this issue that I'm having, right? How would I, right? Because the issue was that I was feeling tired. I was looking for a reward. I was looking for something yummy to eat, right? I'm also hungry. And so by removing the option to use marijuana, my brain then can begin looking at other ways to satisfy these needs. And that's important, okay? We're gonna need to satisfy our needs one way or the other. And then, so I was just kind of reflecting on that. And then shortly thereafter, this thought, I think my cousin who I met up with today to do the workout, she was just texting me and she was giving me so much love and appreciation. She was like, I appreciate you so much. Thanks for coming out and showing up like you said you would. And this really hits home for me, right? Because not so much anymore, but I've had a history of not showing up for other people, and even more so not showing up for myself, right? It's all kind of the same. And that's one of the core values that I've discovered for myself, is the importance of showing up. It's so deeply important to me. It's so important to me that I show up. Obviously not all the time, right? There's times when you need to kind of put boundaries on and be like, I can't go, right? But just showing up, especially when I say I will, in the big and the small ways, right? Whether it's showing up to meet up with my cousin, or doing my morning push-ups, or making videos, or, right, having integrity when it comes to my marijuana usage, right? And it just dawned on me, like, there's just too much on the line, like there's too much on the line to let silly habits that don't serve us back into the fold. There's just way too much on the line, right? And time keeps ticking, right? And so the longer that we don't get a handle on this, the longer we're just kind of like in limbo, if not personal hell. And so I guess, what I'm trying to just share with you amongst all these different things is like, if you don't already, if you haven't already, and if you don't already, take the time to get in tune with what really matters for you. And maybe you won't know everything all in one day or moment, but that's fine. But at least begin to reflect, if you haven't already, like what really matters. That when you show up and you do these things, that at the end of the day, you are happy and satisfied and grateful and fulfilled with yourself. And then conversely, on the other side, what are the things that when you partake in this kind of way and when you show up in this kind of way, you're like, that was not what I'm looking for in myself, in my life, right? What that would have been like today is like, if I like, oh, hey, cousin, I'm tired. I can't make it. Or even worse, I lie, like, hey, I'm sick, right? Um, you know what I'm saying? And so just, begin to take stock, right, moving forward. What are these things that, oh man, I love it when I'm doing all this stuff and I'm showing up this way. And I don't like it when I'm showing up like this or not showing up at all. And instead of doing this great positive habit, I'm just kind of wasting away. Instead of, addressing the fact that this is bothering me in my life and doing something about it to make a change, I'm just complaining and not doing anything and being afraid to make a change. Right. So just take stock. What are the powerful, what stuff has you be who you like to be and have your life go how you like it to go? And what stuff is not it? Just not it. Right. So that's it for today, guys. I hope this video found you guys well. And yeah, I'll see y'all next time. Peace.